Hold on, chat. Did my stream just crash? Oh, that's... okay. Lovely. Totally not because I just did something stupid. But you know what? That's okay. That's okay. That's okay. You know, we do stupid things sometimes and we just, you know, delete it. And then we just act like nothing
For those who want more out of every moment this summer,
ever happened. You know, that's what you gotta do sometimes. That's what you gotta do. How do I delete this? Oh, visibility.
What more could you ask for? Discover
Nothing. You can't see this anymore. Okay. Nice. Perfect. Yeah. Nice. Okay. Yeah. Let's get rid of that. Let's get rid of that. Alright, well perfect. I totally didn't just leak my freaking Gmail, but I got rid of all the evidence. So you know what? Y'all can't see shit. Okay, y'all can't see shit. I deleted it immediately, so you know. Anyways, hi guys. How you doing? It's oh yeah, okay. It says on Twitch that it's done, so we're fine. We're fine. Anyways, just regarding that entire situation that just happened, you know, acting like everything just, you know, everything's kind of fine, you know, you just low-key take it in stride, you just do it fine, it's okay, it's okay, you know, a few things have already gone a little bit awry in this stream, or really, the streams, if you will, but you know what, it's okay, because it happens, maybe a little bit too often, but, you know, it's a thing. So, yeah, but anyways, let's go ahead and get started, okay? So I'm gonna teach you guys how to make buildings, right? Like, that's what I'm at least trying to say, and the main part of this is that I'm gonna basically teach you guys, if you guys wanna, like, freaking, like, I don't know, build alongside me in freaking Minecraft or something, just get, like, a piece of paper and, like, a pencil or something, too, because, oh, and also get Pinterest, because Pinterest, what the freak is this? Dude, this is just some random ass account that I made, and it's already kind of going to, I did not need to see that. That was really unnecessary, but I'm really sorry, guys. That's kind of cool. Look at that. It's like an animal that they killed and skinned, and then you can, like, wear it on your shoulder. That's really cool. Wow. So many fun things online. I really hope we don't get anything overly weird on here. Okay. There's already a little bit of issues with this place, I'm afraid. Amazon, it's sponsored? Why the fuck would you have this on Amazon? Oh my god, bro, I can't do this no more. What? Okay, anyways, disregarding this random Pinterest account I made, I don't know what it's doing. I'm gonna teach you guys how to make freaking buildings. Okay, buildings. I'm obviously not gonna pull up Google Docs, which has my notes for this stream, on my freaking computer, because, yeah, I just tried that, and I leaked, my email, and I don't really want to do that, because, you know, that's kind of not very much fun. So, the, first few minutes, though, thankfully are really easy. We're gonna gather some inspiration. So, the first thing you guys want to do, I don't know what that is. I'm kind of curious. I think I remember this was like a tattoo on somebody and I was curious what it was, but anyways. The first thing you want to do is open up Pinterest or some other app where you can save tons of really inspiring photos like this, and this, and this, all to your Pinterest account, because these are the best. And those, you're gonna want to save this, specifically this, to your Pinterest account. I'm so glad that, you know, Minecraft finds a way to sneak itself into streams, even though we're not streaming about Minecraft today. God, things have already gotten so crazy. I'm just, like, a little fried, not gonna lie. Sorry, there's a dog hair on my keyboard. Here's how this is gonna work. What are my credentials for this, gang? I job shadowed, and I'm currently having an internship interview scheduled for Wednesday. Yippee. And I also have been in other, like, internships, job shadows for architects. And they basically taught me, like, how you put freaking buildings together and how you design a building or an area. You can design, you know, houses, commercial spaces, which are like, you know, a strip mall, you know, a bank, like places that are public to people. They're not houses, basically. They're not personal buildings that are for like vacation homes or sleeping or something like that. They're public spaces. You can also design buildings using the general concepts I describe here. But here's the main idea, okay? First thing you want to do is gather inspiration. I broke this down earlier today. You want to gather inspiration, then you want to write down what rooms you want, also called a program. Then you want to write down the room sizes and an adjacency matrix, which I'll explain a bit about that. If you look it up, it's really confusing, but it's really easier than it looks, I promise. Then you decide the layout of the house, and then you lay the house out on paper or in a program, which in this case, we are using a very fancy but also really weird thing that doesn't really quite fill the screen as much as I thought it would, which is AutoCAD. Please load. Oh my god. Bro, literally nothing, Nice. Nice. This is great. It's going so good already. You know, when I try to load up AutoCAD and it just doesn't, there you go. So, you see, obviously, there's gonna be quite a lot of, like, space that you can't see anything, but you're gonna be able to see at least what we're doing, okay, chat? It's a work in progress, but basically this is just, you know, a side-by-side thing of, you know, if you're making a freaking building, here's how you make one. It's gonna be a long video because I'm gonna go into, like, freaking detail, but right now I'm just gonna give you all the really easy tips. Gather inspiration for a house, figure out what style of house you want, figure out how big you want it, figure out what kind of house you want, figure out how many bedrooms, how many bathrooms, stuff like that. Write down all the rooms that you want, including separate bedrooms, separate bathrooms. Don't be like, I want bathrooms, put one bathroom, one bathroom, one bathroom. Put down how much you want, and then look up the general size of those, and then put it down, and then from there decide which room is going to be in the center of your house, or if it's a hallway or some other interesting, you know, layout that I'm not mentioning here, which you can just look on, again, Pinterest. You can just type in, like, floor plan, and then, you know, see floor plans and more stinky Steve shit. I don't know why this is here, guys. Versus the Burpinator. I would click on this, but I don't really want to leak any of my personal information. But anyways, you pick the center for your house, or if it's, you know, like a hallway or something like that. Then you just lay out the house according to that based on an adjacency matrix, which is how close each room should be to each other, based on ergonomics, which is how humans function. That is the very general and very confusing way of doing all of this. The in-depth tutorial, which is easier, because I'm gonna be teaching you guys how to do the please get the stinky Steve shit off of my, okay, thank you. Oh great, now we have a cute cow, a wet rat, a night rat, a raccoon. What is that called again? The baby hippo, is it Moo Moo? Like, what's her name again? And then also a horse and a police officers sharing a smoke in a police vehicle. Perfect. Much better than Stinky Steve. Also Cat in the Hat for some reason. I don't really know. Alright, so we're going to gather inspiration, right? I am going to let you guys know, I actually don't have a single idea of the type of, like, house I want to make. Like, absolutely no idea. We're going to be doing, like, houses today. Mainly because it's easier for people to understand houses and stuff like that. I mean, we're going to make a house. We're going to make a house, chat. We're going to make a house, okay? We can make other stuff. However, we're going to focus on houses because all these concepts apply to everything, and houses are easiest to describe them as. So the first thing you want to do is you want to make a new, like, board. If you're using Pinterest, if you're using something else, I'm not too sure, but you want to just make a board and just name it house. Great. And it asked me, what do you want? Well, all these houses are kind of ass, so I'm not getting any of them. But let's look for something interesting. I mean, I have an interview with somebody in a week, so, you know, maybe doing something kind of interesting would be kind of fun. So, you know what we're gonna do? This is really interesting. I like this, but that's not a house. We're gonna look up houses, okay? And it can include, like, Minecraft houses. You know, if we look up Minecraft houses and we get inspiration, we can do that, you know? A lot of professional builders in Minecraft, they use a lot of references. In fact, they say for Minecraft, like building in Minecraft or in general in games especially that have limited architecture, meaning, you know, you can only use blocks, you can only use slabs, you can only use fences, like, you know, limitations, like The Sims too, that you should kind of like base it off of real life, and it's usually the easiest that way. So let's see. That's pretty cool, but it's not really what I'm looking for. Let's see here. We can do house. There's tons of options here. I mean, that's not really looking like a house, but I mean, I guess bacteria lives in it, so it's a house to something. But you see all the different houses here? Like, you can do tons of different houses. Let's see. I could just do the floor plan that I use for examples for everything. That might be honestly kind of easier, because in general, overthinking a building that you're gonna make is the worst thing you can do. You always want to try to be as simple as possible and get everything laid out as fast as you can. Not as fast as you can, but like, you know, as consistently as you can, because otherwise it'll get way too confusing and you'll second guess yourself way too much. Hello, Matthias, how are you doing today? I'm teaching you guys how to build. I kind of like the curvature of this house. It's very organic, is what they call it. Shapes that are kind of irregular in houses, which are usually like curved shapes, because houses are usually... What the freak? Why does this turn into actual hell when I scroll down? I hate this. This isn't even, like, this is a new Pinterest account. Is this the type of stuff? What is this? Okay. Okay. You know what? It's fine. Give me a second. Let's do a personal vacation home. Let's look up stuff like that. Like, you know, if you have an idea for a type of house you want to make, just go ahead and look it up on Pinterest and then choose one. Yeah, see, they have a lot of, you know, tropical stuff here. We can do that. We can do that. Let's see. And I'm thinking probably something kind of more quaint, meaning like smaller, might be better for me to do today. The smaller the house, the easier it is to lay out. I suggest for your first few houses you make something small. But I mean, if you're like, you know, fuck that, I'm an overachiever, I'm a perfectionist, which I am, so, you know, I, of course, don't listen to my own advice. My biggest advice for you is to have one side of the house be what's called a living space and the other side of the house be called an active space. For example, you live, you sleep, and you wake up in your bed, so it's a living space, and that's more calmer spaces. They're living spaces, where active spaces are spaces you're doing things like eating, cooking, you know, I don't know, yelling at your children. Living rooms obviously are living spaces, but they're kind of a bit of a bridge between the two, and they're typically near the center of the house, whereas, you know, kitchens and dining rooms are active spaces. You don't see somebody, you know, falling asleep in the kitchen unless they're dead, or they just haven't been sleeping enough. That's the only way you'll see it. Hello, can you play Hypixel, please? I'm doing a different stream today. On Thursdays, I do different kinds of streams, but I appreciate it, guys. I really do. I'm teaching people how to make buildings. Bad words. Bad words. Bad words. I'm a minor, bro. What do you mean? Did I say something? I swear I was just talking about houses. Sleeping? Kitchen? Cooking? Did I say job by accident and then y'all are really triggered by that? A lot of people seem to be triggered by that recently. But anyways, we're gonna look up something, okay? I don't really like this. I'm not really digging this. Let's just do this. Let's just do a home. I mean, I don't know. You know, you gotta like get inspiration. Oh, actually, a good thing too is you can look up aesthetics, and that can help inspire you. Let me think. Like a house, a building, like Minecraft building, Roblox building, buildings. That's what this is. I really hate all of the random sponsored shit that comes up on this Pinterest account. I don't know what its issue is. It's just a bunch of weird shit, and it's very uncomfortable. I do not appreciate it at all. You know, maybe there's kind of, you know, unique, like a unique house. Like, I don't freaking know. All these are kind of ass. I'm not gonna lie. Pinterest usually, this is okay. we're getting more interesting, you know? More interesting. Alright, you know what? Let's just go ahead and pick something. Okay, let's go ahead and pick something. So, what the fuck are these sponsored things? Let's go ahead and let's do something kind of similar to like this, I guess. This is kind of interesting. We can work with something interesting like that, where it's like, I don't know, nature. That's kind of impossible to do. That's okay. I will buy you the beer. The Scornclaw Brew? Dude, I love beer. But don't tell my parents. I'm just kidding. I don't like beer. I don't think. I don't know. I've never had it, actually. I don't know why I'm talking about it like I've had it. You know, drinks in general, when parents offer you guys a drink, if they do you take it? Because low-key, I don't. I have no interest. Honestly, apple juice tastes 10 times better and it don't have that aftertaste, you know? Like, it just don't make sense. Doesn't make sense at all. Alright, I think what we're gonna do is we're gonna go for kind of like a chill, kind of naturey vibe. I like this. So, what you do is when you find, you know, an aesthetic you like for a building, you just save it. Where's the Pinterest board I made? Okay, I guess it just doesn't work. House. Did I not make it? I swear I did. Yeah, literally, I already, okay. House. Doctor House. That's Doctor House to me. Doctor House. Alright, gang. So, yeah, the first thing you want to do if you want to make a build in Minecraft, a build in general, or if you just want to make freaking buildings, is just literally gather inspiration. And see, the good thing about Pinterest, why you should always use Pinterest, is because it has really good ideas. Like, for example, it saw that I had a little bit of, I think I had a little bit of stained glass in the picture, so it gave me stuff like this, so I'm just going to kind of go with the theme. Just in general, I don't have to necessarily like the picture too much, but as long as it gives me, you know, kind of pushed in the right direction for the algorithm so that, you know, there's a bit more specific kind of buildings that we're going to get, it's better. This actually reminds me of a specific Art Nouveau style for buildings, which is kind of nice. I like Art Nouveau. It's very cool. So, let's see here. We're just kind of getting a decent little bit of ideas. I really don't need that many pictures, because as soon as I get, like, a few pictures of a bunch of different stuff, I mean, you can really work with it. For some like, examples I have, though, you know, if you're, like, making a building in some capacity, like, all the, like, the building, the tavern I have on my Hypixel Skyblock Island, I made, like, a Pinterest board and everything for it, because, like, I mean, that's why it looks good. I mean, y'all want to make good freaking things. It's good. I look 14. Bro, what? I look 14? I am 18, my guy. I am 18. I am a grown person. I'm not even 12, bro. Ain't nobody offering me a drink. I keep forgetting y'all are so freaking young. That's crazy to me, man. That's crazy. Bro, I can't even imagine when I was that young. Like, did I even have a consciousness yet? Man. It's like middle school too, isn't it not? R.I.P. gang. Dang, that sucks. Have fun with middle school, man. I believe in you, but... that sucks. That's gonna suck, probably. A lot of people don't like middle school, so I'm assuming it's probably not gonna be too fun. But you know what? I believe that there are always outliers to everything, according to, you know, all the classes I've had in math and science, according to them. There are. So, yeah. So, you know what? We've gotten about, like, I don't know, maybe 5 pictures. I suggest if you're getting, like, tons of pictures, what you do is you just, you get, like, you know, a bunch of pictures for different parts of your house. For example, here's an entryway, right? We have a picture of the entryway. We have a picture of a living room. We have a picture of the kitchen. We have a picture of, a bunch of different stuff. And then we have another picture of the kitchen, right? I don't have pictures of bathrooms because, you know, you don't typically see pictures of bathrooms on Pinterest, which is kind of unfortunate, honestly, because... they're like the most important part of a house. The most important part of the houses are always the kitchens and the bathrooms. Bedrooms are pretty close too. Okay, yeah, let's get this one. This one isn't too bad. But yeah, just save stuff that you think looks cool and inspires you. I mean, that's as easy as this step is. I mean, I feel like this is a decent thing to go off of. Is it a unique thing? Yes. And then what you want to do is you kind of want to figure out what kind of, you know, what you're interested in, what the style of it is called. Okay? I'm in 5th grade going into 6th. I'm homeschooled, by the way. Oh, okay! Nice. Nice. Probably, how do you enjoy homeschool? Because I know homeschool people, I used to know, like, tons of different homeschool people, and they, like, did it in a different way. Like, one person, they had, like, their, they had to, like, just read a book, like, every month, and, like, submit a book report for, like, you know, their reading class, and then did, like, similar stuff for their other classes. And then I know some people, they have, like, somebody teaching them, but just at home. And, of course, there's, like, you know, online classes and stuff like that, you know? So I'm kind of curious, you know? How you enjoying it? I hope it's going well, of course, because I just realized I have no bedroom pins in this. Oh, this is kind of cool. Yeah, let's pin this. Oh, this is nice. I've never been in this before. Okay, yeah. Let's do this. There's tons of unique items here. And get, like, fun stuff, too, you know? Like, get the stuff that kind of screams, you know, architecture, which means, like, you know, fun type of things. Like, for example, like, the archways here is architecture. The pillars and the archways here are also architecture. The general style of everything, like the shape of the windows, how many panels there are, is architecture, all of that stuff. You know? Excuse me. The furniture and the wallpaper and stuff like that's more kind of interior design, but architects, I mean, they have to lay out what it is anyway. So yeah, this is pretty good. This is pretty good. So, if this is our kind of house theme we're going for, aka I'm going for, pick your own. Don't use mine. I'm just kidding. You can use mine. You love it? Yeah? Does it give you, like, a bunch of free time, too? Because that's what I've heard people really liking about it. Because it's really interesting. I like it, man. I'm happy. That's awesome. I'm glad it's really, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, it's, you know, I'm glad you enjoy it. That's great. We need more, what is it called? Positivity like that. Because, dude, seriously though, I've had crazy experiences with both people in public school and out of public school. I think honestly though, just crazy people I love to become friends with crazy people or something. Because man, it is wild. It just reminds me of this one person this is really cool. I want to use, where's that picture with the stained glass and it's like scattering across the floor? Because that's really cool. Where is it? Where is it? Okay, well it's gone. I know I have that pinned on my other account because I see it around every other time, but it would be a, you know, really nice pin to add, but no, it's fine. It's fine. Okay. Just get on Hypixel. I've got a good NPC flip for you. I am not getting on Hypixel, bro. You can try as much as you want. I am way too into architecture, bro. I'm not gonna lie with y'all guys. I'm gonna become an architecture student. And I'm gonna make YouTube videos on it because I have a interview coming up Wednesday. And also, it's kind of fun. And also, if you guys are really interested in building in video games, this shit will be useful. Especially gathering inspiration. If you don't gather inspiration, you just go for it. You need to be like, you know, have at least a decent thing in your head before you go. A decent idea is what it is. So, let's see here. Yeah, okay. 45 minutes. It wasn't very much. So yeah, this is kind of the basics of what we're starting with, okay? There is a program that I use called AutoCAD. I'm not going to go over how to use it with you guys, because, I mean, you guys don't really have to use it. You just have to use, like, a sheet of paper. But when I'm doing my stuff, I'm going to use AutoCAD, because it's just easier. Instead of, you know, showing you guys a piece of paper, it's, like, not even going to show on the screen, so that's how that's going to work for y'all. The next thing we want to do is write down the types of rooms we want. Let me quickly go into, like, a Google Doc or something, but let me not, you know, give you guys my email again, because that wouldn't be very nice. Yeah, let me go into my Draconics account. Nice. Nice. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So, here's how this is gonna work, okay? When you have inspiration of kind of what you're looking for, like for example a building like this, you gotta decide, what do I want in my house? Specifically talking about houses right now because it's the easiest for people to make. Well, obviously you need a shitter. You need a bathroom, okay? You need at least one bedroom. You need a kitchen. You need a living room and a dining room. Although you can also substitute a living room and a dining room for what's called a great room, which is like, you know, the kitchen, living, and dining rooms all in one great room with, you know, the kitchen in a specific place because it has plumbing. That's what you gotta do. In your dream house, is it big? Is it small? What kind of extra rooms do you have? What kind of cool rooms do you want? Write all of them down. This is called what they call a program. When I was job shadowing with people in like architecture firms, they told me this is the first step to making a building, including, although they weren't really aware that I stream and stuff, although it can also be used for, of course, online stuff if you're making things in Hypixel Skyblock. For example, the tavern I made, I had, instead of rooms, I made like areas. For example, I had a stage, I had a bar, tons of tables, an outdoor area, kind of like, you know, an attic area as well. If you just have multiple, they're good. You don't need to really specify what's on the first or second floor unless you have like tons of bathrooms, tons of bedrooms, you know. For some reason, you know, your dining, living, and kitchen aren't on the first floor, which, I mean, some people do that, so, I mean, wouldn't be surprised, though, you know, wouldn't be surprised. So, this is called a program, again. So, let's say, you know, I don't really know what I want to do for a house, and, you know, it's like a vacation house, right? So, let's look up vacation house first off. You can kind of see, you can get a few ideas. For example, there's a lot of pools, a lot of balconies, stuff like that. So, let's add, like, a pool. It's not necessarily a room, but it is a part of, like, a house, even if it's on the outside, you know? We're also gonna have, like, a deck slash a balcony. We can make it a personal one, a non-personal one, I mean, whatever. And then we can also look up literal floor plans to just figure out what vacation homes typically have, okay? And you also want to write down in your program, if you're making like an actual house, if you're making like a house in Minecraft and you don't want it to be too realistic, you just want the basic stuff, don't put this down. But you also need like a laundry room, closets, like a basement crawl space, or just a slab foundation for your house, which is what your house sits on, by the way. Sorry, anybody down in Florida, you can't have a basement. So yeah. But you can see here, like for example, this one has a suite. It has a primary bedroom, it has a study, or another bedroom, it has like tons of stuff, you know? It also has like a picture of what the house looks like. If you look up floor plans, you can see things that you didn't even think you'd have in, you know, a house, like a home theater, or a walk-in closet. So let's go ahead, you know, let's think about this though. You know, if it's like a vacation home, you don't need a very big closet, so maybe not a walk-in closet, unless, you know, for some reason we just have an obscene amount of clothes. I don't know, I personally don't. A meditation grotto. That sounds kind of interesting. That's kind of like a greenery room. That's what I'd call that, to be honest. I don't think that's actually a term, but I'm making it a term. And also see how all these are right next to each other? The dining, the family, the dining room, the living room, and the kitchen. Very common in design. They have suites. They also have garages, a library, and offices. Well, let's say on vacation, you know, let's say this person has, you know, a remote job at an office. Let me think. We also said that this one has... What was it? Let's add an outdoor grill. Let's put that right next to the kitchen, though. Outdoor kitchen area. I have not planned any of this before the stream, so everything you're gonna see is literally just me doing this on the spot, which I think is more, you know, realistic than doing it, you know, kind of planned ahead of time, except I planned the general lesson ahead of time. You'll see some things are, some buildings are a little bit more, like, simple. They don't really have too much. Those are typically just your smaller buildings. The more restraints you put on your building, the smaller it's gonna be. Unless you specifically, you know, are like, oh, you know, this is gonna be a 80-bedroom house, but, you know, I'm gonna put tons of other restrictions on it, and there's only gonna be one bathroom. Like, you know, I don't know. Just whatever you're gonna do, keep that in mind. Okay, this is a really good example of a floor plan I'm gonna show to you guys. This looks like a mess, okay? It's easy to understand, but it's also not easy to understand. Basically, you come in here, you have, you know, the living room, you have a library to your left, which is an interesting place for it. Where's the bathroom? Holy shit. Oh. Oh, no, there's a powder room right there. Okay, well, a big thing, too, is if you're actually designing, like, an actual house, always put the bathroom right near the entrance. You know when your mom, if you have one, if you have a mom, she'll, like, you know, hold her pee, or maybe this is just a my mom thing, but my mom, she, like, holds her pee until she gets home, and then once she, you know, walks through the front door, she's gotta pee really bad, so the bathroom needs to be, like, right there, otherwise she's gonna start peeing all over the floor, kind of like one of our dogs. Put the bathroom near entrances where people are going to come through after being outside of the property. I personally would have put this bathroom probably over here and shifted this, but I don't know. There's a bunch of different stuff, and when you're looking at this, notice that there is a central room in this entire house, and it is the family room. There is always, almost always, a room like that in a house, or a space like that in a house. It doesn't have to be a room. There's always a space. When you guys are designing a house, you want something in the middle of your house. It makes it easy to design. Over time, you can kind of bypass it, or you can bypass it now, but just keep in mind if you get lost, just make one of the rooms, specifically probably your living room, or a courtyard, or a pool, or, you know, an open area where people gather, basically. The middle area of your house. You can also make it a hallway. That's an option. Like, for example, the living room is clearly the focal point of this house. And you can also tell this, you know, another focal point is the family and the breakfast area. All of which are where people gather. Oh, up here, there's a raised game room. It is, again, the focus because people are gathered there. Architecture is based off of ergonomics, which is how people function. So, naturally, the house itself is going to form itself around places where people gather. Like malls. If you go into a mall, which some of you probably haven't, the midpoints of malls are where people gather and sit around, or places where a lot of action is happening, where a lot of attention is being drawn to. There is, like, you know, the reason for that is because it's meant to bring people together, catch attention, be a place where people can rest, you know, stuff like that. So that's why they do that. So what we're gonna do is we have all these, right? We're gonna decide a few things. Since we want something to be the focal point of our house, I'm probably gonna make it the living room. And I'm also gonna make the kitchen a decent focal point in this house. The reason is because we have an outdoor kitchen area. I want the outdoor kitchen area to be nearby the living room as well. So that's gonna be our focal point, okay? Something I was taught by YouTube itself, actually, was if you're making a house or a building, there is a focal point, of course, but also the famous architect Frank Lloyd Wright. He would use this in a very interesting way and always put fireplaces in the middle of his houses. He was a very famous architect in the 1800s for really good reasons. He built Falling Water, if y'all have seen that. I can show you guys it really quick. Hold on. Falling Water. What state is that in again? Pennsylvania? Oh, okay. So, yeah. Let me pull this up really quick. Yeah. Here we go. So this is one of the buildings that Frank Lloyd Wright made. The bottom of it, like, for example, you know, the actual, like, floor of it is where water runs through, and also it has a rock floor. And it has big windows that let in light. The overhangs are specifically made, so during the peak of summer, shade goes across the entire window frame. That way your house doesn't get too hot. And of course, there's a fireplace near the middle of the house in order to heat the house in all directions. That's what he's doing with that, okay? So there's tons of, like, thought processes that go into it. But besides the history, choose your living room. Just choose your living room, or a pool, or a deck. You can make, you know, an outdoor deck the focal point of your house and have it be kind of like hexagonal or octagonal or even circular around it. There's plenty of houses like that. I mean, look. Floor plan circle with courtyard. And, you know, a courtyard can be anything. But, like, see, there's houses that literally have, you know, like, courtyards in the middle of them. I'm not too sure about the, like, integrity of these kind of houses, or, you know, like, if there's a big pool in the middle, how it works with storms and stuff. I I assume it's fine because it's quite often. You know, you see stuff like that pretty often, but you will see in some things like, you know, this, which is interesting to say the least, that, you know, people have tons of different ideas on how to make houses, so you can just find a plethora of things online if you just look in the right way, you know? That's the idea. That's the idea. Oh, perfect. There's still a few weird sponsored things on my page, but at least it's a little bit better than before. So, yo, I'm back now. How you doing, Omega? I am teaching architecture today. Architecture. How are you doing? How you doing? How you doing? Let's see. So the next thing I'm gonna talk about really quick, because so now we have our program, which is basically all the different types of rooms we have. We're gonna decide how big they are. So actually, what I was taught when I went to my trade school for architecture is that there were like minimum dimensions for a comfortable room and also up to code and stuff. If you are, you know, kind of looking maybe into making buildings and houses just on like Minecraft or, you know, Roblox, this doesn't really pertain as much to y'all. The like, you know, the scale of them, like example, the bathroom being slightly bigger than the bedroom, or the kitchen being really big compared to the living room, or the fact that garages in houses typically are around, you know, at least a fourth of the house big, like, you know, size-wise. The garages are huge, guys. Like, seriously, the infrastructure for cars, especially in America, is wild. Garages are huge, like absolutely ginormous. I never realized how big cars were until I looked up cars, and they're like, oh, you know, they're casually just 9 feet in just one direction, which is a little chaotic, but you know what? Who am I to judge? I own a car. I can't say anything. I can't say anything at all. If y'all are using the metric system, I'm going to be using the US Imperial system. I was trying to do, you know, like a owl. I mean, not an owl, an eagle. An eagle screech. Owl. I don't know why I thought about owl, but you know what? Whatever. So yeah. We're gonna come up with the room sizes, Jack. The room sizes. It depends on how big you want your stuff to do. I saw the new episode of Dawn to Dawn wasn't as good as the last, in my opinion, but it was still pretty peak. Yeah? Yeah? So, like, just nothing crazy then? Did they have fighting, or was it just, like, literally kind of ass in general? Because if you know, if it has some fighting, it's pretty good. But if it's just kind of nothing, I mean, it kind of sucks then, you know? I don't know, though. I'm kind of a sucker for action in animes, so, you know, when there's no action in, you know, an episode, and there's also not too much other than that, it's a bad episode in my eyes. It's a bad episode in my eyes. So let's see here. I'm really good at coming up with the measurements for different rooms just off the top of my head because I know the minimum dimension something should be. But for bedrooms, the minimum length and width for a bedroom is 10 feet by 10 feet. Okay? That is slightly smaller than the bedroom I'm in. That is enough, just barely, to fit everything you need according to like the US standards for like a bedroom. Of course, also it's like state regulated, so you never know. States could always just pull some random stuff and be like, oh, actually it needs to be bigger or smaller than that. I'm on the East Coast, so you know, we have a bunch of different things. Probably compared to the West Coast or anything like that. However, that makes you have a really small bedroom with probably like maybe a twin bed, you know, maybe a queen if you can fit it. I mean, a king size bed, I mean, I don't think you can fit that, because I just don't think you can. But yeah, the main thing you want to do is you just want to make it have like a decent size. For example, you can look up like a floor plan with measurements, medium sized vacation house on Pinterest, and you'll get things that pop up and look. So it's saying that a primary suite is 13 and a half feet by 15 and almost 15 and a half feet. So I'm gonna go ahead and round down. So that's gonna be 13 feet by 15 feet. Okay? So let's go back to our document. This is gonna be 13 feet by 15 feet. And if you're like, okay, well, how do I just come up with those numbers? Boom. Feng Shui, guys. Do you know that guy who takes, like, the furniture, the little furniture, and he, like, places it in different ways? Let me just... Look that up on Pinterest. See? It literally tells you how long it is. This is a 13.6 meters, or 12 feet. Wait, that does not seem correct. But you know what? It's fine. It's okay. But see, it gives you layouts for it and everything. It gives you a place for a TV, a place for a bed, gives you, you know, a place for some coat racks, you know, and stuff. You don't have to have your closet in your room like these have it. I mean, typically when you're, you know, making how big your bedroom's gonna be, your closet is going to be in a different place. But I digress. So let's make a primary closet as well. You wanna, as you're going along, just kind of like update these. Also, primary bedroom is the same thing as master bedroom. I say primary instead because it's like the correct term. Because master bedroom was like, you know, a really, it's just a really interesting term, if y'all understand what I mean. It's a little chaotic. It's a little chaotic. The last 10 seconds made me want to just watch it more, and it's always like that. It's like a cliffhanger then. After season 2, I'm gonna watch the manga, because I'm gonna read the manga, because I legit can't wait for it. Yeah. Heck yeah, man. Literally, you know what anime is good, though, when you need to go read the manga, because it's so good. Love that. Even in school, though, I'm gonna be watching it at 12. I don't care if my phone gets taken away or not. I just need to watch it. It's okay. You can just load it up on the Chromebook. I mean, supposedly you can get tons of stuff on the Chromebook, you know? I heard somebody got freaking Discord on their Chromebook, and they got invited to a server full of child predators. But that's a different story. You know, the area where I live in is kind of interesting. That's for sure. You know, they're quite common here. Unfortunately. A primary closet is going to be 8 feet by 5 feet. Why? Because I said so. I just came up with that on the spot. So let's look up. Primary closet, 8 foot by 5 foot. What are we gonna get? What are we gonna get? Pictures. Very good pictures of a closet. That's probably 8 foot by 5 foot. If you guys want to look at actual floor plans, just always put in floor plan. Like, if you guys are, like, you know, really confused at any part of the process, if you want a vacation home, look up a vacation home floor plan. If you want a Victorian house, look up Victorian house floor plan. And just observe. Just look at it. So much of building is just looking at your inspiration, figuring out what you like about it, and then doing that. Or looking at freaking floor plans or ideas that include, like, you know, a layout of something and just understanding why it's laid out that way based on, you know, how people move and do things in general. You know, that is not what I meant to do. Alright. For example, I mean, this isn't... I've gotten this many times. I don't like the entrance to this, so I don't usually really, you know, consider it useful, per se. But, however, it's not a bad layout in general, of course. I just have beef with it because I'm a really picky person who takes a lot of pride in their work. That's what it is. I would talk about it more, but it would spoil it a bit. Yeah, that makes sense. Oh, you know the one website where you can just watch shows, movies, and anime and all that for free and stuff? I can just use that. I've heard about it. I actually don't know what the website is called, but don't say it because, you know, it could be found out. Not actually, but, you know. Better safe than sorry, of course. Use that, yeah. Use it. Use it. And then you can, you know, Crunchyroll subscription, what's that? You can just do it yourself, you know? Really nice. I hate Jack and Jill bathrooms, bro. But the ones that have, like, 2 doors to it actually make me crash out. So let's see. That closet's just gonna be 8 feet by 5 foot. If you guys want to see inspiration for how big you should make things, again, I'm gonna say, I'm gonna look up for the kitchen. Kitchen, floor plan with measurements. Boom! So many kitchens with measurements. And you can also get, like, you know, maybe inspiration first. Aesthetic art nouveau. That's not how you spell it, but I don't care. Like, for example, see, I'm looking at these and, you know, I'm thinking, oh, what kind of screams vacation to me? You know, what kind of screams that I'm on vacation and I'm, you know, doing things really nice in my kitchen, actually. Do I have any pins that kind of work with this a bit? Because I had a decent amount of kitchen once, if I remember correctly. I'm not remembering. Oh, wait, no, I am remembering correctly. I do like this because it has these nice open windows, but let's take that to the nth degree. I don't like the fact that the counters go all the way around and there's no entrance or exit. What we could do, though, is we could have a bit of a bar coming out and then a very circular kind of organic shape here. Kind of like almost like a candy cane, the top of a candy cane, you know? And then we can have doors coming through because that would be really unique, I feel like. You know, that would be kind of a fun thing. And this could be a very independent space, meaning that, you know, there aren't doors crossing through this space because it's such a working space. It's called an active space when you're actively working in it. And it's called a living space when you're actively living in it. Examples, sleeping, napping, doing things for entertainment, things like that. Okay? So, what we're going to do is we're going to take this. Typically, for kitchens that are around this size, you have 3 feet for each person. So this is probably around 5 or 6 feet between counter to counter. It kind of looks like it might be 6 feet or even 7 feet. And counters are usually with a depth at least 2 feet. So that's a lot of math. Basically, what am I saying? I'm saying that I know the general dimensions of how deep a counter is and how they calculate the space between these counters, which I'll go over later on. So I'm gonna make this 2, 4, I'm gonna make this 10 feet. Actually, no. It should be bigger than that. 4, 6. Let's make it 14 feet. That'll give us quite a lot of space for our kitchen. That's a decently sized kitchen. Small kitchens can be really small, especially if you're in an RV. But if you're in a decently sized house, I'm actually gonna cut it down to 12. Because 14 is quite a lot, now that I think about it. Let me think here. So if we have a kitchen, it can be 12 feet by maybe like, you know, 13 feet. Let's just do that. It's just interesting. An outdoor kitchen area, let's just make that 12 feet because we're going to match one of, you know, the measurements above, and I'd like it to be the smaller one just so we have a little bit of smaller stuff. By like 8 feet. Let's do that. And as you kind of get the hang of this, your kitchen's going to be probably around the same size of your living room, or your living room's probably going to be a bit larger. Your dining room's probably going to be a bit smaller than your living room, but probably around the same size as your kitchen. So let's go ahead and use that then. Dining room can be around, you know, 11 feet by 11 feet. Let's just do that. That makes it nice and easy. I'm just going to work with everything as it happens, okay? I'm getting the basic scales for everything. A living room, typically these are pretty big. So let's make this 14 feet by 13 feet. A pool is just to be decided. I mean, pools are tons of different, you know, sizes and everything, so you can't really put something specific on it. Same for the deck. I think that'll be kind of like maybe the focal point for the house, honestly, because it'll be kind of fun. Laundry rooms, I mean, typically are like 8 by 5 feet. Closets usually have a depth of at least 2 feet or more, so when you're reaching in, there's usually around 2 feet for space to, you know, hang up hangers and everything. For this closet, though, in general, if it's just like a storage closet, then it's probably going to be like 2 feet 6 inches, which is just 2.5 feet, by probably like, you know, 5 feet. That's not too bad. Greenery room is kind of going to be the same as a living room, except it's going to be smaller. So let's just do a 10 by 10 space, and we can always integrate it with others. And then an office is the same. It's usually around like 10 by 10. So let's just do 10 by 10. Alright, we've got a bunch of really random seeming measurements, okay? If y'all are ever confused about this part again, what you do is you literally just look up measurements, and then you just take whatever you like best, okay? You look up layouts for different rooms, and then whichever one you like the best you use with the measurements that come with it, okay? I'm gonna go for like 5-10 minutes, maybe a bit more, but if I don't see you, have a good day. And tomorrow, see ya for a bit. Alright, see ya, Omega. You have a nice break. Have a nice night if I don't see you. Have a nice day if I don't see you. Everything like that. So, you now have what kind of rooms you want in your house and how big they are. So now we put them together, okay? This is where programs like AutoCAD is what it's called come in handy. Where, like, you know, you can use them to really, you know, just, I don't know, you can use them really well. to design what you want to design in order to, you know, make houses really pop. Okay? So what we're gonna do is let's just pull this up really quick, just one more time, okay? So this is going to be all of the stuff that we put in the program. We're putting it now in AutoCAD, okay? This is just a place for me to put down ideas, okay? So, let's see here. We're gonna put the game capture on top. And the window capture, actually the window capture is gonna be on top. And we're just going to place it kind of here, to be honest. You know, kind of to the side. Hold on, wait, this is a little... Yeah, you can't really see that, to be honest with you guys, but you know what? It's the thought that counts, I suppose. Let's see. Oh yeah, wait, no. We can zoom in really far here. Alright, nice. Okay. So, let's go ahead and actually make this slightly less so y'all can see it a bit better. So, we're gonna have our program in the top left as we're designing these, okay? So once you have the rooms you want, aka your program that you laid out, and you also have how big they are, you're gonna either want to get some graph paper, or you're going to want to go onto a program like AutoCAD, which has a built-in measurement system. What that means is if I do what's called a polyline, which is what I just did, I need to turn on orthographic mode, and I say I want a 3-foot line, it's able to do it for me, except I guess, I did not grab the right version of AutoCAD, did I? Oh my god. Okay, wait, hold on. This would take only a few seconds. Yeah, they both look the same. Oh, it's the global version. I didn't get the US Imperial one. Okay, wait, hold on. I'm actually going to get rid of that really quick. Just because I don't really want to have to, deal with it too much. Alright, let's see though. So let me load up the correct AutoCAD really quick and then we can continue with this. It's always the one that's like also like so different from the others. It's like in a completely different spot on my computer. I don't know why I put it there. I do it every time. I use it pretty often, but I still just don't do it quite as much as I feel like I should. Alright, I'm working on getting AutoCAD up, but as we're doing this, I don't really know what this is doing. There we go. Alright. We still have our program in the top left. Alright, and then we're loading this up. My eye is so itchy. Like, so incredibly itchy. Y'all. What are we at right now? 8:51. That's not too bad for time. Not too bad, I don't think. Alright, so this is how this is going to work. Let's get this done. Okay. Come on. Come on. Show up on my screen, damn it. Show up on my screen, damn it. There we go. There we go. Okay. Okay. Here's how this is gonna work, chat. Here's how this is gonna work. So, you guys can see as I move around on the screen, right? You guys can see everything, stuff like that. Our first building, let me turn on, our first room, the size of it is 8 feet by 5 feet, and it's a bathroom. So what I'm gonna do is, if you're using graph paper, make lines 8 blocks by 5 blocks. I mean, that's pretty much it. What you're seeing me do here is I'm just putting in the measurements, and then I made a square. I can also add in like text and stuff, if it'll let me, thank you. Where it just allows me to say that this is a bathroom, okay? This is a bathroom. It's going to be exceedingly big, so I'm just gonna scale it down. And I'm also going to go up into my toolbar, which y'all can't see, and fix it, because it's really freaking annoying me. The annotation is going to be small, very small. That's what it's going to be. Thank you. Appreciate it. Alrighty. No, I'm pretty sure that didn't work. Oh well. But anyways, we're gonna group that, okay? This is our first room, alright? Our very first room. We can move it wherever we want, really, but I'm just gonna place this here, okay? This is a bathroom. BA stands for bathroom, okay? This is just to scale off everything that we've done, okay? So, the reason that we do measurements is because, first off, this right here is accurate to how big the actual bathroom is. Now we have a primary bedroom, which is 13 feet by 15 feet. And also, another reason why we do it is to see how big the house is going to look in general, okay? Oh, okay, my bad. 13 feet by 15 feet by 13 feet, and then closing it. Okay, nice. So for bedrooms, I just use the abbreviation BD, okay? And then I just scale it down again, and then I just group that. That way it's nice and easy. So you can see now that we've added 2 rooms, you can see that the bathroom is a lot smaller than the bedroom, which is completely normal, by the way. But this is why I'm doing this on a graph paper, or even taking pieces of paper that you measure, like, oh, 1 foot is 1 inch, or 1 meter is 1 inch, and you just, you know, cut them out and then start placing all of, you know, the boxes together. That's how you get the layout of a house. So we have a primary closet, which is 8 feet by 5 feet. So let's do a pline, and then let's make it 8 feet by 5 feet. So this is all you have to do if you're planning to make more of a real life house. For my folks who are, you know, watching this and they're like, oh, I just want to make something on Minecraft. You know, I just want to make something kind of more, you know, video game based. You can do this for, like, things like cities. You can also do this for things like, for example, let me think. Layouts for GUI. You can also do this, for example, just like actual buildings in general, or, you know, park layouts, mall layouts, stores, buildings, all in one, you know, city layouts, garages. You know, you can do this for tons of different things, as well as excuse me, things to get a really good idea of, you know, kind of what you're looking for. Kitchen is 12 foot by 13 foot. So that's what we're gonna do. 12 foot, 13 foot, 12, and then we close it. And then let's make sure that we know that this is the kitchen. Alrighty. Perfect. The abbreviation for a kitchen is KIT. And the reason I added a P to this bedroom is because this is the primary bedroom closet, by the way. I didn't add a closet because I low-key forgot, I suppose. But that is the primary bedroom closet, which is not a walk-in, by the way. It is just a closet. That is literally all it is, alright? All it is. I really hope I'm not messing up this freaking eye stuff I have on right now. I kind of look like I, like, haven't slept for 5 days simply because of this freaking mascara. Dude, freaking though, I was doing stuff today in a theater class, not theater class, my theater camp, and let me tell you, freaking, I turn back, I look at one of the directors, you know, I'm like, you know, kind of jokingly, oh, you know, is my makeup okay? It's obviously fine in my eyes, you know. And there's nothing wrong that could be, you know, wrong with it. It seems perfect. And she tells me I don't have enough fucking mascara. Bro, I have literal spiders crawling out of my eyes. Like, I don't really want to even wear this shit, but I have to because, you know, it's important for the cast. You know, it's important to do, I suppose. Alright, the living room is 14 feet by 13 feet. Good to know. 14 feet. By 13 or 15? 15, right? No, 13. Okay, 13. Nice. 14. Close. Text. Living. So yeah, as I'm doing this, just make different, like, in general, sized boxes for kind of what you're looking for in your house. Another way to do this, if you have no idea of how big you want your rooms to be or how many rooms you want, you can also do a very interesting method, which is draw a box, okay? And I mean like a pretty box, okay? We don't want this to look too ugly. For example, this. Let me move this really quick out of the way so it doesn't overlap. Once you do that, you want to take lines, and you want to do this on the piece of paper, and just start making rectangles that intersect with this main one, okay? You want them to be going off of completely different areas, okay? If I have a bunch of building, you know, a bunch of, you know, rectangles going off in different directions, I at least do a minimum of 4, but honestly, you can do more if you'd like. So, for example, this is what I made, okay? So we're gonna go ahead and make this an outline. Once you have this really chaotic thing on your piece of paper, erase the middle lines. Okay, I should have told you guys to use pencil, but I'm sorry about that. This my bad, gang. My bad. You want to only do the outline of this, because what we're going to do is we're going to get rid of the middle of it. Just like that, see? Oh wait, I need to do this too. See? Alright, perfect. So this is going to be the outline of our house, okay? The next thing you want to do is figure out which places look like they could have entrances. The entrance to a house is depicted as a place that juts out from the house or seems very noticeable. I noticed this area first, but you can also notice this area is pretty prominent, this area is pretty prominent, and this area is pretty prominent. You're like, okay, well, you know, if all these areas are pretty prominent, I mean, you know, how do you decide which one, you know, you're gonna use? Well, I don't. I honestly don't. I don't think I ever settle on one until I just happen to. You know what I mean? And if you ever feel like you can't really make a good shape, look up floor plans and then using multiple, kind of piece them together. You can even like take a picture like sky down and piece them together this way, but you will come up with a very nice shape typically, which gives you some really interesting kind of, you know, dynamics for your buildings. So, now that we have this, let's go ahead and finish our rooms. We're at the bedroom currently under the living room. No, we already have the living room. Dining room, which is a 11 feet by 11 feet by 11 feet by 11 feet. Quite a few 11 feets. Let's just go ahead and get that done. Perfect. I like squaring away things. This is a pretty chill experience, guys. Pretty chill. Okay, let's see. So, we have all of these beautiful rooms. Okay, all of these wonderful, beautiful rooms. There's more rooms that I haven't added yet. I will add, I think, the laundry room and the closet really quick. Actually, yeah, let's just go ahead and add the rest of them. There are other rooms, specifically the pool, the deck, but those are going to be a bit more kind of based on how we lay out everything else in general to see how they fall into place, okay? Laundry room is 8 foot by 5 foot. So you do that, then you do 5 foot, then you do 8 foot, and then you close it, okay? And then you take a text box, and then you make this laundry. Oh wait, I don't need to do that. And then you scale it down so it fits and where it needs to fit. Okay? And then you just group that, and then you place it with all the others. You can see, though, how this is helpful because it shows you what the biggest rooms in your house are. You can see what is the most priority and what is the least priority. For example, the living room has the most priority. Then the kitchen and the bedroom share the priority. And then the dining room, and then the outdoor kitchen, and then the other miscellaneous rooms. There is a clear hierarchy with the rooms based on size. That is what I'm trying to say. We have a closet, which is 2.5 by 5, if I remember correctly. Let's just do 2.5 feet. And then 5 here, and then 2.5 feet. And then close it. Yeah, this is just gonna be a basic closet. And you can always flip these around if you want. Keep that in mind, okay? This, and then closet. And then grab this, scale it down, and put it in. There we go. That's what she said. Alright, so let's see here. We got this here. What else do we have? We have the greenery room and the office. So the greenery room and the office are both 10 by 10. So what I'm going to do here is, to save time, I've been taught kind of, you know, to make one square. And then all you do then is, you know, you just copy and paste it. With a special command called copy paste specifically on this program. For my friends who are on paper, all you do is you just take 10 squares by 10 squares and you just make them, okay? For everybody who's using paper, by the way, I suggest that you leave enough space that you can cut out your squares eventually, so then you can move them around, similar to how I'm able to move these around each other. Like, see, I'm able to move this kind of around nearby all the other squares. That would be really helpful to figure out how to place your squares, okay? And this is an office. Nice. Whoops. Office. Nice, 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 nice. Okay. So now that we have all of our rooms and they're all grouped together and they're pretty easy, we need to decide the focal point for the house. Each house has a focal point, like I described earlier. It's usually the biggest room. The living room is obviously the biggest room. So we're going to place that near the middle of the house, or at least a focal point of the house. So maybe what we'll do is, let's place the living room right here. It's supposed to be a transition area between multiple spaces, so we can put it in between multiple different areas. While you do want typically walls to line up, it's also kind of fun to experiment, okay? So why not shake things up? So if we decide we want to put the living room right here because it's kind of fun and kind of silly too, the entrance needs to be somewhere nearby the living room, okay? The entrance needs to be somewhere nearby. We're able to get to the living room, and we might also add in a few other rooms in order to make that happen, okay? And this is also going to be around this size because I just realized it's quite an obnoxious size in general. We're going to add an entryway here, okay? Building and making houses is all about creativity, okay? I want you guys to be as creative as you possibly can. This is going to be 7 feet wide, just because I said so. Actually, never mind, I changed my mind. How big this is going to be is actually going to be, it's not going to be 7 feet, it's going to be 9 feet. So, this right here marks an entryway, okay? The doors are going to come through here, and then that's how you're going to enter the house. So let's make the doors. Doors are typically 3 feet in depth, so what you want to do is just do 3 feet in depth like this. And being 3 feet in depth also means that the next line you want to make, that's 3 feet. In order to do this properly, this is going to need to be right here, like that. And then what you do is you make a circle. Check this out, chat. You're gonna see what I'm doing here in just a second. It's really cool. I promise y'all. I promise. Let's see. There we go. And then I'm able to kind of break this, so that's not the way I wanted it to break necessarily, but that's okay. That way it looks very nice. And it's going to work very well, basically. That's all it needs to do. See? So now we've got doors that lead into the house, okay? This has around a, 4-foot gap? That's enough for a person to get through comfortably. So we have a living room here, okay? We need to decide where the kitchen's gonna be. It needs to be against a wall of some kind, which is, of course, a bit of an issue, because since the kitchen's in the middle of the house, we don't really have a wall. So what we could do is we have a few options here. We could place it over here, which isn't a bad place for it. You know, it's a decently an okay spot for it. We could also place it here and have something in the middle of the house, okay? I'm walking you guys through the process of kind of how I'm designing houses, and since this house kind of has a very naturey vibe, I'm leaning a bit more toward this one, to be honest with you guys. And since this is a path right here, people obviously are going to want to come through this area, so I think placing the kitchen right off of here is not a bad idea. And since we have a bit of a space here, this is a good place to just kind of put the bathroom. That way people can kind of access it. You know? It's a nice place so people can access it. This is a bit of an awkward space for it, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to specifically place it right over here. That way it is kind of like, you know, the perfect space for it and everything. Like that, see? So now we have a bathroom, which can be accessible from the living room, which kind of is pretty open over here. You have everything in general, okay? So, the outdoor kitchen needs to be on the outside, of course, because, you know, it's an outdoor kitchen. That's like, you know, the whole point, I'm afraid. It's an outdoor kitchen. That's pretty much the thing. Outdoor kitchens, let's think about this. We said the reason living rooms are in the middle of your house is because there where people gather. Outdoor kitchens are also where people gather, but they're also where people are also working. You know, they want to be close to the kitchen because they need to be close to a refrigerator to grab more materials. They also need to be close to, you know, the main area outside where everybody's gathering, but they also need to be kind of away from where a lot of the living space is. Let me drink some water real quick. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna look for different places for this outdoor kitchen. I think living rooms, personally, if there's gonna be a big area in the middle that's open to the outside, you always need exits to the outside with your living room if you can. It brings in natural light, it brings in the ability to have an outdoor courtyard. It is very, very vital. So when you're designing a house or something like that, always keep unique ideas like that in mind, because it will seriously up the quality of your builds and people will go, wow, this flows really nicely. So let's take our outdoor kitchen, okay? Multiple places where it can be. We can put it on the side over here. We can put it right here. So it's kind of a place where, you know, when people come in, they can just chill over here. But honestly, the place I'm kind of leaning to is right here. But not necessarily like this. I'm thinking instead of it being, first off, the way it was, we can rotate it first. You guys are going to kind of see what I'm kind of thinking here in a second. The outdoor kitchen is pretty big. I think it takes up quite a bit of space. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this back. Okay? I'm going to move this back a decent bit. Just like that. It's a nice little area. Okay? Nice little area for everything. Tons of ideas, tons of different things that you can do things for. This is how hallways are naturally formed, by the way. If you have a big space, there's hallways naturally formed through here. So now there's a hallway that's going from here to here, sort of. So I kind of want to keep that out throughout the entire house so there's a decent amount of flow going through it, okay? And that also opens up the possibility that there's, you know, a door through here and then a door through here going to other parts of the house. That is a decent idea that, you know, we can work with as we go along. And consider too, you know, maybe this area over here is a bit of, you know, like a pantry, a walk-in fridge. This can just be a fridge like that. So let's just go ahead and make this walk-in pantry, which is a WIP, because, you know, it's like a walk-in closet. This is WIC, but it's like a pantry. So let's do that. That works pretty well, I think, in my opinion. So, we have this so far, okay? We've placed a few of this stuff, you know, made a few more stuff. Laundry rooms. Okay. This might seem like a next weird choice to do, because it is. I mean, you don't usually just decide, I'm going to, you know, put the laundry room down next. You don't typically do that. I mean, you typically decide something else. However, there is a really good reason to this. And houses, there are multiple entrances to a house, okay? You can get through, like, you know, usually what's considered a foyer. You can also go through a garage. You can also go through a laundry room that doubles as a mudroom. So maybe, I'm noticing already, with my floor plan, a big thing you want to do with your floor plan is consider how people go into houses and interact. For example, when people come into houses, they want to be greeted by something pretty. So you put the living room nearby the house. When people come home after, you know, doing something, sometimes they hold their bladders. So you put the bathroom there. Specifically looking at a lot of UK people, a lot of people in Europe, because they have to pay for public toilets. They also bring in a lot of groceries. So we have a bit of a hard process to get to the kitchen. So I'm thinking what we can do is we can place the laundry room nearby here. This is an interesting choice. I'm gonna be real with you guys. I'm not sure if I'm gonna like this choice. I'm probably going to change it because I'm already noticing a bit of issues with this. However, what this opens up the ideas for and the opportunity for is you can go through here in the main entrance, or you can come over here and go to the laundry room this way. However, you can obviously kind of tell that quite a bit of the area for bedrooms is either going to be here or here. And that is what we're going to go into next. The next biggest room is the primary bedroom. okay? This wants to be in a quiet place, a place that is accessible from the living room, but it's not so into the action as everything else, okay? So you want your bedrooms to not be close to the kitchen unless you're a foodie and you really like food. That's a good example. You want them to not be close to your laundry room at all. You do not want at all at any point for you to have a bedroom nearby a laundry room unless you can't help it, which is ironic because, you know, you go in between the two a lot. They are so incredibly fucking loud. Those washing machines for clothes, I was in, God, it was horrible. I was in a different state in America that I don't, you know, it was just a really crazy trip, basically. And we were in this, like, kind of like timeshare, but it was also kind of like a hotel type of thing, but it wasn't a hotel, typically. It was a resort. That's the word I'm looking for. They put the laundry room in the middle of the house. The apartment that we were kind of staying in, because it was kind of like an apartment. Horrible. It was one of those horrible, god-awful, stacked washing and dryer machines. It was the worst fucking thing I have ever heard in my life. Nobody was able to sleep because of that stupid goddamn washing machine. That's just ass. Like, so ass, dude. And I'm not even kidding, like, it's bad. Really bad. Okay? Like, it's bad. Really, really, really bad. Okay? I'm not even gonna lie to you guys. Don't get stacked washing and drying machines for your clothing if you can help it. They suck. Okay? They seriously suck. But anyways, I digress. The bedroom wants to be in a place that is kind of calm, but it's kind of near the living room, probably also with a decent view of the outdoor area. It wants to be in a bit more of a secluded area where people can't see it as much, but it also kind of wants to be in a place where it can get, you know, a lot of nice views, a lot of nice stuff. This shape isn't quite doing it for me right now, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to rotate this to see what else I can get this kind of bedroom to look like here. So let's go with this really quick, okay? So this bedroom now is a different shape. It has a lot better of a chance of being able to fit in a nice place, in a nice way. So let's look here. The natural hallway is cutting through, and if we put it so our bedroom kind of lines up with it in a nice way, we can actually create this really interesting shape here. So, naturally, there's a hallway kind of forming over here. So what is kind of happening is we're going to have some doors, which I'm going to group these really quick, and then I'm going to copy and paste them once I, you know, group everything properly. Group everything properly. Alright, nice. Copy, paste, paste clip, and then I'm just going to insert this over here. I'm going to group this, and then I am going to move this using the corner of it over here. This is going to be a bit smaller because we actually don't need the doors to be this big, technically. They can be smaller, and you know what? That works for me right now, to be honest with y'all. That works for me. I'm not feeling too picky right now about my doors and how they look. I might change that, to be honest with you guys, just because it's not my favorite thing. You know, it's not my favorite thing. Let's actually leave that as it is. So, we have this kind of outdoor area. This could probably stay a bit more open to give the bedroom a bit more views, and in general, more places, more views. Okay? It could be, you know, tons of different things, tons of different places. And we could also always move those doors over here, which for the living room, it feels like the edge of it, which is nice. But for the bedroom, it feels like you're going straight into the middle of it, which is a really nice thing. It makes it feel, you know, like really regal and stuff. Now I'm seeing this over here. It doesn't look like very much space. So this could either be a closet or it might be able to be a balcony. So let's see how actually wide this is. This is 8 feet. That's pretty big for a balcony. So let's make this into a closet, okay? Let's make this into a closet. We are literally making a floor plan just pretty much out of scratch. But, I mean, think about it, though. When you come in, you're able to go to a living room, you're able to go outside, you know, have some nice time. And it's also covered, by the way. I should have mentioned, I'm basing this off of a place where the weather is pretty calm, and there's a lot of outdoor areas that are kind of interchangeable with indoor areas. For example, it is the perfect temperature usually outside, so people have a lot of outdoor areas in their houses, so they don't really need necessarily too many, like, indoor pieces of their houses. They can also have a lot of outdoor pieces. And you can also notice that the hallway is a pretty big part of the house too. It's like kind of near the center, which, you know, isn't too bad, to be honest with you guys. It's not too bad at all, really isn't. So what else we can also do? This is going to be the exit to kind of like the great outdoors, if you will. Hold on, let me just unpause my music. Nice. This right here is going to be our exit to the great outdoors, so we're just going to kind of leave that for now, okay? Let's focus a bit on the primary bedroom, primary bathroom, all that stuff like this, okay? So, how this is going to work is you walk into the bedroom, you want some good views, so you know you can go over here. You want some good views over here, though, as well. So the way that we place the rooms over here has to be very precise. That way, we don't fuck around and find out. Okay? You should always try to have bathrooms on the inside of your house when you can. For example, I put the bathroom on the inside of the house because bathrooms don't typically have windows. And they just function better that way. I don't make the rules. I follow them. That's what I do. So, this is, for example, is the primary bathroom that we're going to do, although I labeled it as the primary bedroom for some reason. I'm going to see if I can get this on the inside. It's going to be hard, but I believe it's possible with maybe just a bit of creativity. And also, if we have an outdoor pool area, I made the primary suite or bedroom, whatever you want to call it, would definitely want direct access to their bathroom. It just kind of makes sense, you know? And also this closet is kind of interesting because it's kind of like a utilities closet. Usually that goes in the laundry room, so we're just going to put it there for now. Let's also just take this office, and we can also place the office here. I'm thinking. Yeah, let me think. No, because no, that would inhibit the bedroom a bit. Let me think. I want the bedroom to have good views because, I mean, it's a bedroom and it deserves good views, but I also do want this office to be in a good place, excuse me, where it gets a lot of sunlight, it's not too far away from the living room, and it's in a decent place. To be honest with you guys, one of the better places for it to be might be over here, but I am also kind of leaning where it could be over here. For example, this is my reasoning, okay? For a house where you work from home, sometimes you have meetings with people where you need to meet with them. You don't want to give a tour of your entire house to somebody. You really don't, okay? I don't care what you guys think. You don't want to give a tour to everybody. Is my live frozen? Because if somebody's talking in chat, I am so sorry because it is not updated. Oh my god, of course. Of course not. No, there we go. There we go. It's working. It's working. I think. Am I still yapping? I'm gonna wait just a second, and then if I see myself, you know, just kind of freak out a little bit, then... Yeah, okay, it's working, it's working. So basically, that's my thought process behind this. We might make this a bit of a different shape, just because it's not quite working with this, to be honest with you guys. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna place this right here, okay? And then let's just do a nice little outline of this, okay? This office is going to be this big. It's going to look like this. Alright, so there we go. That's gonna be ungrouped, and then all you gotta do is you just gotta get rid of that. Boom, there's your office, okay? What do you want for an office? You want a place where people can chill. So what we're gonna do is we're going to extend the living room, okay? It's gonna fit the shape a bit more, which means instead of, you know, doing whatever the heck it was just doing, instead what we're going to have this do is we're going to extend it. Just like that. And then also extend the living room down. See? Very nice. Another thing that we want is we want the dining room, which I've been, frankly, kind of neglecting this entire time. The kitchen, the living room, and the dining room, usually, at least, are pretty close together. Now, this is where I'm already starting to see an issue that we're gonna have to fix. This is very common when you notice things. This is why you typically go in a orderly fashion that I did not go in, which is going in order from the biggest room in your house to the smallest room in your house. Because now we need the dining room to be by the kitchen, preferably nearby the living room, and preferably not near the laundry room, and it could also be nearby the office if it needs to be. So, think about this. We have an outdoor kitchen area. We need to think about what kind of reasons would somebody want an outdoor kitchen. To cook outside, obviously, also to grill things, but also to entertain. Outdoor kitchens are not kitchens in the sense of you're just there to cook and clean up after you're done cooking. You are there to also entertain guests. So, dining rooms, which are the same, should have access to an outdoor kitchen, and maybe even have some kind of access to the outside. So what we can do here is, in order to give kind of space for a kind of, space of some kind, what we can do is we can take this and we can make it so doors can come through here, which honestly kind of gives it a nice shape right here, which is really interesting. So far, look, we've got the shape really interesting, starting to take shape, okay? The dining room is going to be accessible through the kitchen, mainly because it's typically accessible through the kitchen. That's why it's there, okay? However, I'm going to also probably take a bit of this chunk out now that I'm looking at it, because it's a bit much. Another thing too is we have this big greenery area over here that is, like an outdoor area where people can, see and stuff. But we also want other areas in the house that bring in a lot of nature. Okay? Now, let's look at areas of the house that are going to need a lot of nature, okay? Kitchen. That's why we have an outdoor kitchen and an outdoor area for the kitchen, because it needs a lot of greenery. A lot of people need nature when they're working on something. Laundry room is in a nice place because they get to fold the clothes and look out to see if anybody's coming up the front steps of the house. It's an alert thing. Same for the office. The office is out in front and to the side with a lot of windows that are going to be facing in all directions so they can see people coming up. Like, there is a strategic reason why I place everything in places, and you'll just get it over time. That's just kind of how it works, okay? Now, a greenery room. I don't really know what the frick that is, guys. I low-key made that shit up today. Like, literally, maybe just like a few minutes ago, whenever we made the greenery room. Greenery room, though, sounds like to me it is a room full of a ton of plants, which typically means it's going to need quite a bit of water, so we need it to be placed probably nearby the kitchen would be a good idea. But I do kind of lean to placing it down over here, which I think is because typically office spaces require a lot of nature. However, if we're stuck with one place, we can always come up with different ideas, okay? A greenery room needs a lot of water, so it needs to be nearby the kitchen, okay? That's a no-go. It's got to be over here somewhere, okay? But we already have the green area over here, so it's got to be over here or over here, all right? So, bear with me. Here's what we're going to do. I am going to place this greenery room, honestly, I might place it there. Because, here's my reasoning. I am going to be able to move this closet. Let me think this through really quick. This whole area is a bit wonky. We might need to look back at it later. But this is going to be close enough that we can get water from the kitchen. It's also going to be close enough where if they have seeds, they'll store them in the kitchen and bring them out and go ahead and place them in the greenery room. It's also going to be near the laundry room, which is one of the entrances. if we have a sort of entry area that is kind of nice and naturey on this side, it just makes the whole house better. So, for example, what if this entire area is kind of like the greenery room, okay? Let me show you guys. This looks stupid right now. I'm going to make this a lot more simplified so it's easier to understand. This is going to go there. I'm going to break this side of the, that is not what I wanted to do, of course, because I don't know why it's so bad. Let's see, let me go this. This greenery room, how this greenery room is going to work is it is going to be specifically this entire area, okay? And it's actually going to be an outdoor greenery room, okay? When people come into the house, they are able to come up to this and just kind of be nearby it, okay? That's going to be a bit of the goal of what's going to do. There's a bit of a kitchen here. It's going to have a bit of access to great outdoors. Although I'm thinking about moving this closet a bit. That way we have a bit more ventilation for the kitchen. In that case, you know, there could be a good place for a closet. For example, while we've been thinking of a lot of indoor closets, we can also have outdoor closets, okay? So, for example, let's put a closet here. That's not a bad idea. So we can put a closet here in order to have, you know, a bit of storage in general. That way, we can have something architecturally here kind of supporting the entire area. And as you're doing this, sometimes it helps to go back to what we have earlier, which is, you know, pictures of the house, pictures of what you're looking at, you know, just so you make sure you remember what you're looking at when you're, you know, making a building, especially a house, because houses are complex, very complex. So see, it is still quite clunky in this area, and that is because it is just a very difficult area to work with. But the more simple it is, the better. You can tell that since the kitchen cuts into the greenery room, it is a higher priority room, meaning you can see it a lot better. You can see it a lot clearer because the rooms around it are smaller and it's cutting into the other rooms. It is clearly like the boss, basically. If you ever want a space to feel like it is very large and dominating compared to other rooms in the house, make it kind of cut into other spots and also make it so that a lot of the rooms around it are like hallways that lead to important places, smaller rooms, things like that to really accentuate the simplicity and the size of the room in the middle. That's how you do that, okay? Now you see we have no rooms left to place, okay? So this is where it kind of gets into a bit of a hard part, okay? A bit of a more difficult part to do. Bedrooms. Bedrooms are one of those things that are really hard to place, not necessarily because it's hard to decide how many you want, but really just because it's hard to decide where to put them, especially in a house like this, where there's a lot of empty space over here, and there's not really anything right now that kind of is screaming to me on what to put there. There's just not very much to work with necessarily. So what we're gonna do is we are going to work on this area first, okay? This is the primary bathroom that we put down earlier, and I was like, oh, you know, we'll come back to this, we'll work on it, you know, blah, 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 like stuff like that. Let's go ahead and rotate this. I'm kind of feeling it, so let's see what this looks like really quick. Alright, this is what this looks like, okay? We are going to have at least 2 doors in the primary bedroom. It is going to be a door to a bathroom. It is going to be a door to a balcony, and possibly a door to a closet. However, you can also have closets and bathrooms in the same buildings. And if you ever want to have a closet or a bathroom, which, you know, can't usually have too many windows in it, you place it on, first off, the most interior side of the house, unless there is a very specific reason you don't want to place it there. So, what we're going to do is we're going to take this primary bathroom and we're going to place it, okay? So I think it looks pretty good there, but I also do think, hold on, sorry, my eye is itching, but it's like the other one that, what's typically itching? It's a little complicated. A little complicated itch. This is gonna go on the inside if I can help it. So, bedroom's gonna have multiple balconies, by the way. For example, if I want this to be a covered deck, this could actually work really well. I usually want it to be at least 5 feet out, but you know what? It's an outdoor area. It really doesn't need a fucking outside area to, like, you know, it doesn't need tons of, you know, areas and stuff like that. So, let's have all of this, okay? All of this. Let's make it so this primary bathroom is right here, and then there's a closet, which is going to be right over here. Alright. This primary closet is just going to be a regular basic walk-in closet, okay? It's just gonna look like that. Alright? Because I don't give a fuck. I really don't. I'm quite unbothered, to be frank with everybody here. Quite unbothered. I make floor plans. I don't make good ones, but I make a floor plan. I'm just kidding. I like to strive to make do with what we have and make good stuff, but I can never guarantee the quality of it. Alright. So let's see here. This actually can be the garage that we're kind of looking for. How big is this? 15 feet? That's big enough for a garage. Barely, but it works. How much depth is this? Only a foot 4. Okay. What we're gonna do here is we are going to make this a big garage, okay? It is going to be like a 2-car garage, 1-car garage type thing. However, it's gonna be, you know, 1 car behind the other type stuff like that, okay? This is not going to be nearly enough space to add to the garage to have any significant impact, like being able to put another car in or, you know, stuff like that. So I'm just going to actually completely separate this part from this. This is going to be the garage, okay? Garages are huge, by the way. I just want everybody to know. I'm just going to say that multiple times. That's already like the 3rd time I've said it this stream, really. I feel like it's just going to go here, okay? That's where it's going to go. Right here. This is right next to the dining room. Right next to dining rooms is typically the living room. The kitchen is another thing. Dining rooms are also a nice place to have like storage, or it can also be a nice place for workshops when with a garage, or it can also be a nice place for some type of game room. Okay? Garages are loud, okay? I'm not gonna lie with you guys, garages are insanely loud. When people open and close the garage doors, it is extremely loud to the point where you can hear it across the entire house without even having to move a muscle. Okay? So that while this garage is pretty big, we need to find a reason that this room is here. Okay? We need to find a reason, a meaning, something like that. Okay? So maybe we can think of this. If it's a game room, there's going to be a lot of noise, interaction from the garage. It's a vacation home, so people are constantly coming in and out. However, you know, it's usually only a small group of people, so unless one person's going to go get something, there's typically not going to be that much travel. That's my analysis on it. So, what I'm going to do here is, I'm going to just go ahead and make this... What should we make this, chat? What should we make this? Let me think. What do I do after dining in the dining room? I typically go to the living room to chill and talk with people. When you're nearby a garage, you're usually in the laundry room. You're usually also by like your water heater, water cooler if you don't have any. You're also typically right by like tons of different other stuff. Like a bathroom typically isn't too far away. Sorry, I'm low-key, like, trying to, like, slept right now, guys. I'm not even gonna lie. My freaking self is like, go to sleep, go to sleep. I'm gonna finish, like, way ahead of schedule, though, just because architecture is quite easy sometimes. But let's see, okay? I might honestly look up a floor plan for this. So, for example, y'all probably will run into this a bit more than like an architect, an actual like one. I'm not one, obviously, but if you're struggling to find a room to put between a dining room and a garage, look it up. Dining room and garage on floor plan. other. Let's see. It says, well, it can't find any safe pins, but it did bring me to quite an interesting place where it shows me a kitchen, a pantry, a scullery. You know, it shows tons of different stuff where, you know, you can store things, stuff like that. So actually what we could do is for the kitchen, we could have like a pantry that's a bit more, I'm trying to think here. An outdoor kitchen is a really nice area, but I wonder if it has some type of storage in general. No, probably not. I don't think it does. Alright, well that's okay. What we're gonna do is we're going to look up floor plans. And when we find something that we like and it sticks, we're gonna go with that. Okay? When we go for it, we go for it. Okay? Let's see. So we're over here. Also, I was just checking out the freaking Minecraft server that I'm a part of because they're yapping, bro. I'm like, bro, what are these notifications that I'm seeing in my freaking thing? Really, really, really obnoxious. Let's see. Freaking not even in this freaking school though. Let's see here. If we have tons of places where we can find lots of floor plans, they should have more specific descriptions. So when I look something up, they should pop up. But this indeed does not, unfortunately. Breakfast is like a dining room in a way, but it's really not. Let's see. Also, the reason why dining rooms used to be really close to foyers, including studies, is if you invited people over for dinner. Typically, though, in the, like, you know, culture that I'm from and the society I'm from, dining is more kind of like, it's more kind of like, first off, formal, and it's also more kind of for, like, reserved people. So that's why I'm placing it a bit farther back in the house. Although, if you really wanted to, what you could do is you could switch the kitchen and the dining room around. Actually, not even completely fully, but kind of put the kitchen farther up where the garage is and put the dining room down where the kitchen is. Makes it a little bit easier for a bit more formal households is how I would describe that. Because it can get a little bit chaotic if you have too much going on in one spot, if you know what I mean. Okay, so there's also some other spots in specifically the Google Doc we were looking at. The deck, balcony, and then the pool. Another thing that we could do in this area right by the garage is have a pool. However, I don't think it's a good idea. And the main reason for that is because it's a pool. Like, you kind of want that to be in the main area because it's kind of a staple. Excuse me, you know what I mean? However, if you think about it too, though, if you have a garage where people are coming in and they're coming through the kitchen and stuff like that, your guests typically don't come through your garage. They're probably going to park a bit farther up. Now that I think about it, though, the garage is in quite a stupid spot. And to be honest, I'm thinking the greenery room and the garage might need to switch spots. This is also just the kind of stuff you realize over time as you're working on one floor plan. This isn't, you know, something you magically learn as you're just, you know, doing your thing. I mean, this just is specific to this floor plan specifically. So, the reason I'm going to go ahead and move the garage over to where the greenery room and the closet were is because, first off, you usually have garages right by the front door, and you have garages typically go into kitchens. So we're going to have the garage go into the kitchen, okay? That's what we're going to do. It is way, way, way too small, obviously. Way too small. I mean, a 10-foot, almost 11-foot garage is really small. So we're definitely going to be fixing that over time. Right now, though, I'm just focused on getting the general dimensions So I am not too worried about it, okay? Not too worried about it. For the dining room, I'm honestly kind of considering taking the outdoor kitchen and doing something interesting here. Right now, what I'm doing is I'm focusing everything around this area over here, right? But that's not my focal point. The focal point for this house is the living room, but you can actually have two focal points, which is kind of what I mentioned earlier. So if we want to have another focal point, I think it would be quite nice to have this greenery room be the other focal point in the house. And what we can do here is we can move this greenery room out of the way. We can also move this closet out of the way. We can also move, first off, oh, wait, hold on, my bad. I was like, why is this not working? The dining room in a very specific way, so let me group that. And then this is going to go here. Okay, so what if we have the greenery room right here? This is a nice room where people can come and they can just kind of sit down, relax for a bit. They can do whatever the hell they want, really. This is going to be mirrored, though, if I can mirror it. And this is going to be, yep, perfect. No, don't destroy the source object, just because I'm going to erase it myself. So, for example, though, this is going to be a very interesting specimen, because I'm kind of curious to see how this turns out. Sometimes you just gotta low-key take your rooms and just move them around until it makes sense. Seriously, though. Like, that's how you do it. Like, actually, that is quite literally the way of how you do that, okay? Also, I've seen tons of dining rooms with closets, so I think I'm gonna actually go with that today. It seems quite interesting, and it seems like a concept that I never use. So, let's give it a try. Well, shall we? Shall we indeed? Alright. That is going to be broken just for the sake of convenience, because it's a little bit annoying. Okay. This closet is going to look like this. Okay. And also, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to have it where it is actually more kind of like this. Yeah. So see, that's what the closet's going to be like. The greenery room is going to be all through here. Sound good? Capiche? Capiche. So, we have a lot of extra room, again, like I said. I'm thinking what we could do is right by a greenery room. What would you have right by a greenery room? Let me think. Of course, flowers, the seeds, dirt, soil. That's pretty important, but you usually get those from the Lowe's. If people are looking to go to a greenery room, they're probably a bit stressed, so it's fair to assume that there's a decent possibility that they kind of just want to chill. They want to go to a place where they can just kind of relax for a bit. So not only can we add a greenery room here, we also have the opportunity to add like a library, a study, something like that. So for now, I'm just gonna kind of leave it like that. And I'd say that's honestly quite nice. Okay, for the living room, we have the outdoor area right by the outdoor kitchen, and we can also have the office in the living room open up into possibly an outdoor area over here. But for the office, I'm considering it just being right next to the front door. But honestly, now that I'm thinking about it, I do think that this area could be a nice little place for like a meeting or something similar to that. Although it's not very big. Yeah, okay, let's do this. So this can be a nice little meeting area. So if you are at your office and you're talking with somebody, or you just kind of want to spend some time outside, you can just go out here. This is an outdoor meeting area. I just put out so I know that it's outdoor. There we go. Really interesting. Are you architect? I am an architecture student, and I am trying, I have an interview on Wednesday for an internship. So we're working with it. We're working with it. Also, hello, Sidhesh. How are you doing today, man? How you doing? So we are working with it as it goes. So far, it is going quite good. It's been a hot second since I've designed a building like this. So we're just kind of doing it as it kind of pops up. This isn't looking too bad so far. What else do we have? So this has a pool that we need to add. So the pool can be over here in general. Okay. There's a lot of outdoor areas to this, and I appreciate it because that's kind of what we were going for this entire time. So I'm glad that we're actually getting these areas. I'll just call it outdoor area because this is more of an area for the primary to just go out to the pool, stuff like that, which also means that this can connect to the bathroom, or it can just come right in and go to the bathroom like that. I'll look at some reference photos and we can decide from there. This, I think this is going to be the closet, honestly, because it feels right. So this is going to be the primary closet. Perfect. Nice. Okay. I feel like the only thing that's kind of missing is, of course, the stuff up there that we still need to design. But also, this needs to be a hallway. The inspiration that we got is really good. So as long as we just keep looking at it, I think we'll be good. Because this inspiration is pretty fire. I'm not gonna lie with you guys. I haven't made a house like this before. That would be really cool if we were able to make a house that looks as cool as that. That would be really fun. Really fun. It's like the Family Madrigal, but it's better. It's literally better than Casita, I'm afraid, so gotta step it up, that's for sure. It's all one floor, mainly because I'm going off of kind of a bit of the ranch style that Frank Lloyd Wright made, but it's not ranch style. It's more just kind of like the architectural design of it. It's very remnant of it. It's very based off of it. Let's look up a greenery room. I don't think I've ever seen a greenery room. I kind of just came up with the idea. Like, I know it exists, but I haven't really seen one. So what we can do is we can look for a greenery room. And then once we see a few examples of one, then we'll be good. If you guys are ever making builds on Minecraft, on Roblox, or in general, you just want to make houses, always, and I mean always, it's like art. Constantly look at your reference. Constantly look at it because, bro, you will get so many good ideas from that stuff. For example, like this veranda right before the foyer. Really good idea. Although I don't like how you come into the foyer and you're immediately greeted by a big-ass wall. Although, granted, it's like, you know, a closet and everything. I mean, imagine if you have stuff sticking out, you just hit it with the door. Don't like that. That's a nice place for a bedroom. I appreciate that. The walk-ins aren't bad either. It's nice. It's really nice. We can have a bedroom in an area like that too, because I do know that we are only at one bedroom right now, and you can have a few bedrooms in a house. We can definitely add at least 2 bedrooms of a sort. Ah, my bad. I accidentally moved my phone. So actually, I just got a really good idea. So what we can do, bedrooms are typically 10 feet by 10 feet, but let's just go ahead and make these 12 foot by 12 foot. I like to just make them 12 foot by 12 foot just because it's a bit easier to work with. We're gonna copy this and make 2 bedrooms that are 10 feet by 10 feet, hopefully, if we can. Let's see here. Yeah, that'll work. Is this 2 feet in depth? Perfect, it is. Okay, so this is going to be 5 feet across. That should be, actually no, let's make it, yeah, let's make it 6 feet across. That's way it goes across everything. Like that. Let's break this. Nice. Perfect. Okay, so these are going to be closets then. That's a really nice, just easy way that kind of worked out. These are also going to go into like a hallway of some kind. Hallways typically should be at least 4 feet wide in a residential space, meaning a personal house, a personal building, a home, stuff like that. In a commercial building, which is a public area, it depends on how much foot traffic you're expecting. I'm going to go ahead and make this one 4 feet wide Mainly because, you know, while I do typically like to go bigger than I usually, you know, think, I don't necessarily want to do it too often. You know what I mean? Like, you don't want to make things too big too often because it gets a little bit repetitive. So let's put that there, and then let's get that out of the way. Perfect. This is going to be a hallway. Okay? Hallway. Nice. Nice. This greenery room is going to serve as another living room, but for this group of people who are probably going to be close guests, friends of the person who owns this house, similar things. Which actually, now that I think about it, the greenery room might be better than without a hallway. If we can just get rid of hallways, typically I like to, because it just makes it a bit easier. And then what we can do instead is that we can have this be a half indoor, half outdoor space, which will be kind of nice anyway, because we have tons of outdoor spaces already in this place. So this is a greenery room, right? We are going to go ahead and also probably make a bathroom in one of these places, because we do need a bathroom. And then this is just the same as the outdoor area. So we're gonna paste that here. It's not quite as scaled down as I want it to be. There we go. Okay. Outdoor area, indoor area, outdoor area, indoor area. We need a bathroom, okay? Bathrooms, of course, like I said, should always be near the inside of the buildings. So, I'm thinking we put the bathroom over here. Typically, you want it to be 8 feet wide, but also what you can do is you can make it around 5 feet by 8 feet, which seems quite big for this right now. So we might need to redesign some of this. Let's see. I'm thinking really quick. I don't want to dig into what I'm doing too much. However, we could always make these 11 by 11s, which would free us 2 extra feet of space. Put the bedrooms together a bit more closely. That way it gives us a bit more leniency with where we put the bathroom. But I'm seeing a lot of intersections over here, so the bathroom would have the best place in this corner. So let's go ahead and make it 8 by 5 bathroom, because that's going to be easiest for us to do just right now. Like this, see? The only issue is that now there's not enough space to get to the outdoor area. Although it is an outdoor area, so it's kind of hard to not have enough space, because you can also just like walk like this way. However, I do see how it could be a bit of an issue if you're going from a greenery room and you want to go, you know, to the main outside area, but you've got a big ass fucking bathroom in the way. So, what I'm thinking we do instead is... Oh, I see the solution. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to rotate this the other direction. We might rotate it back, but for now this is going to be, I think, the better solution. This is going to go here. Right here. The dining room is not going to have direct access necessarily. It's going to have access to the outdoor kitchen. It's just not going to be centered. The dining room is a bit more of a private area anyway for these people. So it works. It works for us anyways. Sometimes you do, of course, need to sacrifice things for other things. This is a case where, I mean, we're not really sacrificing anything necessarily, but it is kind of just a trade-off of less natural light in the dining room, which isn't a bad thing because dining rooms, specifically the architectural style for this one, includes a lot of big lights, if you can't tell. Let me see. Let me show it. This is still playing, right? No, it's not. Of course not. Let's go over here. So the house. Right. You can see it has a lot of wall lamps. It has a lot of lighting, especially in areas that are a bit more secluded and give a bit of a homey vibe. So our dining room's gonna give a bit more of a homey vibe, okay? Kind of like this, except it's not natural light. I'm just kidding. Well, not really. But we're going to go over here and just make these closets really quick. We're just gonna label them really quick because that's going to be a bit of the process. Boop. There we go. Alrighty, so this is going to stay here like that. This area is going to be, I mean, I have it right now where it's just kind of unlabeled. However, I'm thinking I'm going to extend the greenery room to around this point, at least. And then this area over here can be a bit of like a patio of sorts. And I'm thinking maybe if we take this in a bit, so we take the bathroom in just a bit, so it cuts just a tiny bit into the dining room. We can then take this part and extend it. Typically you want the depth of the patio to at least be around like 3 or 4 feet. It seems like it would be a little bit obnoxious though, so I'm not even going to bother with that really necessarily at the moment. How much is 4 feet from here though? That's what I'm curious about. 4 feet? Yeah, let's do this. Okay, yeah, that works. That works. So, here's how this is working though. There is a patio over here. Not a patio. It is a deck area because we have quite a lot of those. Where people are able to sit and kind of watch and stuff. So, this is such a funky house. I'm actually like really enjoying this process. Alright, let's see. This is gonna break because I'm going to make this a little bit more wonky. Let's see. This is going to become a bathroom too. Because I think I already have a bathroom one. Yes, I do. Okay. Bathroom 2. So this is a 3-bath, 3-bedroom house with a, how big is this garage? With a more kind of like a 1.5 car garage, which is like, you know, a car and a motorcycle maybe. Or it's really just kind of like 1 car, to be honest with you guys. A kitchen, a living room, an office, a bunch of nature areas around the house, a bunch of balconies, tons of fun stuff like that, okay? If you look at the building, it looks pretty fucking nightmarish. Mainly because it's a building. All of them look nightmarish, I'm afraid. That's really just how they look, chat. It's not really an issue. It's just how it looks, okay? So, don't bully it for, I don't know, being an ugly house, I suppose. It's not very nice. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna group this really quick, okay? How this is going to work, this is the floor plan we're working with for now, okay? Here's the thought process, okay? Laundry rooms are usually right next to the garages for mud rooms, so you go through the garage with your car, you park it, you go to your laundry room, which has, you know, access to the kitchen. If you need to go to the bathroom, you can go to the bathroom, which is access from the living room, although I might make it so you have also access from the laundry room too. I'm not too sure if I'm going to do that. I think I will. But depending on how annoying it is, I might need to extend the bathroom and probably move the entryway a bit more farther down. We'll see how it goes. However, here's how this is going to work. You go through the front door and not the garage. You go into the living room and you have a beautiful view to your right. If you're here for a meeting, you go to your left into the office, or you can go to your front left out into an outdoor office area where you can have a meeting that's outside. So if you want a Zoom call with somebody, or if you're meeting with somebody in person, you can have it outside or you can have it in an office. The kitchen is decently nearby the dining room as well as the office, so if you want to serve food, it's not that hard to do. There's a walk-in pantry in the kitchen, mainly because if you're having a vacation home, you want to eat well, so you also have an outdoor kitchen for your convenience. There is a dining room that is a bit sectioned off from other places because it is seen as more of a formal place, especially for the people who you're going to invite to come with you. A family vacation home includes quite a bit of family, okay? You want these people to feel comfortable, but also you want them to be separate from you because they're annoying as shit. Okay, so we put them on different sides of the house so they can enjoy the views and enjoy the stuff without getting in each other's way, because families don't always want to be next to each other. Is it a smart idea? It's an interesting idea. not the smartest. It's interesting though. The outdoor area, which isn't quite labeled, you have an outdoor area, which is right by the primary bedroom. There's a pool. So right in this area, right over here, there's a pool. So actually, let me go ahead and write that down really quick. Pool area in general, just right over here. So that's going to be the pool area, except it's going to be a little bit different, just because, you know, pools aren't exactly, you know, right up against your house. There's like, you know, codes and conducts depending on what state you're in of where they have to be. But I mean, that's a pretty good floor plan in general for, I mean, like, what? Around like 3 hours, maybe 2 hours. I mean, it's a pretty simple floor plan, but it's a good floor plan. It's a good one. Credit where credit's due. Don't be a pussy. Let me see. So, let's find out any possible issues with this floor plan. The biggest issue I'm actually seeing right now is that the kitchen actually doesn't have any access to a window for ventilation. Oh wait, no it does, because it has an outdoor kitchen. I was so confused for a second. I was like, there's no way I did that and I did not include a place for it to ventilate. Because legally, I'm pretty sure in every single state, or at least it's like this in some places, some not, or something like that. And I'm just gonna like, what am I saying? We're going to abide by it. Kitchens catch on fire. When kitchens catch on fire, you need a ventilation so you can escape, okay? And by the way, this is a pretty good floor plan for if you end up having a fire, by the way. Mainly just because there's so many nature and outdoor areas that you'll be able to escape one damn way or another. I mean, geez. I mean, look at all the different ways that you have. I mean, you walk in through the front door and there's already an immediate, you know, exit in front of you to your right and in front of you to your, like right in front of you on your left a little bit. Excuse me. If you're in your primary bedroom, you can go to your outdoor area and just jump in the pool, or you can just go straight ahead into the balcony and just jump, because it's all on the first floor. It's fine. If you're in the kitchen, you can just go through the laundry and garage and just leave, or stay in the garage, because the garage probably isn't like a big issue, although you want to get away from the laundry room probably. You can also just go through the outdoor kitchen into the pool area. Not that hard. Dining room, you can just go through the outdoor kitchen into the pool area. If you're in the bathroom, just go out to the deck to the pool area. If you're in the greenery room, just go to the outdoor greenery room. If you're in either of these bedrooms, go to the pool area, go to the greenery room. There's a quite easy way to get out of the house in case of fire, which is really good. In case of a robbery, people are typically going to come in over here. They're probably going to either, actually no, they're probably typically going to come in a different place. Where would the most valuables be? Probably in the primary bedroom, which makes sense. I don't see people who are robbers coming into this area because it feels really kind of, you know, oppressing. When you're going to a house and it kind of boxes you in like this, it feels secure to people who are, you know, not robbers. But to robbers, I feel like it would kind of be intimidating because it's kind of like, you know, really enclosing in on them. So they might come through the balcony, which would make a bit more sense. So what you can do is you can just place the doors in a specific way that, you know, first off inhibits it a bit and also makes it harder for people to come in. And you can also just make it a screened in balcony, and then, you know, when you hear somebody do it, when you hear somebody climbing over, you go, oh, somebody's climbing up my balcony, probably to come and try to kill my ass. And then you just you know, freaking lock in and you just beat the shit out of them. I mean, like, you know, that's what I'm thinking, at least. That's what I'm thinking. Let's see. I mean, laundry room's pretty easy to get to. Bathroom's really easy to get to in every single place. There's a lot of stuff in the middle of the house, which is good. Although I'd say everything that needs ventilation has ventilation. For example, this hallway is an indoor hallway, even though I kind of want it to be an outdoor hallway. It's an indoor hallway. Okay, it's indoor, unfortunately. So this outdoors meeting area, living room has ventilation. Office obviously has ventilation. I do like the placement of this office because you can see everything over here, including who's coming into your house, so you can see the clients walking up, which is really nice. For your garage, you can also see people walking up. For your laundry room, you can be bored, so you can watch people, you know, in the kitchen. You can just stare off into the abyss. You can stare off into the abyss again, or you can look at the people coming in and out, or look at, you know, action going on, probably over here, probably on like a street or something like that. There's tons of different things like that. Kitchens are also another thing. Probably going to put the sink facing the pool area, because a lot of people, if you think about kind of a typical scene of kids playing in a pool party and where, you know, maybe the parents might be finishing up chores, what they're going to want to do is they're going to want to watch their kids as they're doing chores. If you place the sink facing the opposite direction of where the kids will be playing in the pool, it'll make it very hard for them to supervise, and therefore they are not going to use your appliance that you placed down as much, because you placed it down in a very inconvenient way. Whereas if you put the sink nearby the outdoor area where you can see people and also see a nice view, it'll be a lot easier for people, especially if they have issues with, you know, functioning mentally, physically, cognitively similar. It'll make it easier for them to do it. That is what I believe, okay? That is what I believe. Let me see if I have anything else for you guys. I might end this early just because I, like, literally got everything done for 4 hours within, like, I don't know, 2? I mean, how long have I been streaming? Yeah, like, literally 2 hours and 10 minutes. Good God. Okay. When you're putting a floor plan together, always consider which rooms should be next to each other. Like, again, like what I was saying, the kitchen and dining room need to be nearby each other. The living room needs to be near the kitchen, because sometimes some families like to eat in the living room instead of the dining room. The garage needs to be near the kitchen. The entrances need to be near the kitchen. If you have stairs, put the stairs in between the 2 entrances to your house. The 2 biggest entrances to your house. You cannot really have more than 3 main entrances to your house, but I would consider it 2 just because that's the typical way a house is laid out. There's typically, you know, something in the front, something in the back. And you want really, really, really clear pathways to where you're going. I'm trying to explain everything, and I keep freaking yawning. I guess because I was just working so hard today on my freaking show. Let's see. Yeah, the only real thing together, I mean, is just special considerations, climate. Special considerations for your house that I didn't explain is, you know, mostly just if you live in a specific place that's, you know, deals with tornadoes, have a really strong central bathroom or closet in your building. Work on a grid pattern if you are in a very high wind area. For example, for houses in the Tornado Valley, what I suggest is that you work what's called a grid pattern, meaning instead of doing all of this complicated stuff, make a box, make a grid in the box, and then design your rooms and the floor plan of your house within the grid. That doesn't mean all of your rooms are the same size. It doesn't mean that your rooms are, like, not reaching specifically the pillars you laid out. It means that your straight lines are very, very clear. Like, for example, if I wanted my straight lines to be very clear in this house, this wall would line up with this wall, would line up with this wall, would line up with this wall, would line up with this wall. But it's not. Mainly because I don't have a budget in this. And also, it's a first draft. Those are the 2 main reasons why it's like this, chat. Anything else, I'd say, let's think. If you're prone to flooding, get a really strong slab foundation. For people in, like, Florida, they get a lot of flooding in their basements because they don't have those, because they got a lot of flooding in their basements. That was a really weird way to word that, but basically they don't have basements because it's flooded. So if you are planning to put a house in a beach or something like that, just consider that. That is going to be really, 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 really important. You don't want to end up with a house that is flooded, especially since you will not be able to actually have a freaking basement in a place where they don't allow you to have basements, chat. The code of conduct, the codes, the building codes, you can't skirt past them. They literally check the plan that you submit for them, I'm afraid, because it's their job, you know? So you can't do that, okay? You can't. I'm thinking, though, if I was going to kind of sketch this in general out, what I would do is first I'd kind of get this. Let's do a side view-ish of this, okay? So, let's get this really quick. I'm just doing the front profile of this. This is going to be moved all the way to the side over here, okay? So this is going to be placed here. And then I'm going to move this down so it's here. This is going to be moved there. This is going to be moved even farther down, just like so. Whoops. This is going to go here, and then this is going to go here. Nice. So see? That's how it works. And this is also going to be deleted. That way, when I select things, they're all their separate individual things. The reason for this is that I'm able to find the nodes for them really easily, and then buildings typically are around, like, 10 feet tall. If you're just, doing stuff as it is, so, you just kind of work with this. You just kind of make it look a little bit pretty. And let's see what the outside of this building, like, style looks like. I think I had one picture that was like the outside. Yeah, I do. So it's kind of like curved in a way, which I'm wondering if that's scientific. Like, I'm wondering if there's specific math behind why the curve of that is like that, I'm wondering. I think, honestly, it's to do with, like, the slope of the roof, which is typically 45 degrees. So we're just gonna do that, okay? We're just gonna do that. So let's just make this 5 feet. 5 feet. 5 feet. Close. This is going to be a pline, but then after this I'm gonna go to a spline. Spline. Oh wait, I should have actually started with a spline now that I look at it. And then this is going to specifically be placed in a certain way. Let's look at this again. So yeah, it kind of goes up and then it just kind of curves around into a flatter part. But it takes a while to get there, does it not? It doesn't take too long. Okay. Yeah. Then we can do this. And then it can kind of be something like this, to be honest with you. And then this line can come up and meet it. And then this can come back here. So that could be kind of an example of what the roof may look like. It's a good example, okay? That's what the goal of it is. Something simple, like that. Pretty much. Of course, it's not exactly that simple because it's just, there's a lot more to it. However, I'd say that's pretty just, decent, whatever shape. So, God, I mean, what else should I go over with you guys? I mean, once you just make a floor plan, you make a floor plan. Just remember what you want to do. These are the steps, okay? Gather your inspiration. Figure out what kind of house you want to make. Look at tons of different photos of these houses. Not just the aesthetic ones, but also the ones that showcase kind of the style. Meaning, oh, does it have wood going across it on the outside? What does it have going on the inside? How is the lighting? Stuff like that. because that'll help you decide, you know, what blocks to use in Minecraft, what tools to use in Roblox, how, you know, to make this house look if you're gonna draw it out, and in general, for people who are just looking for, you know, house advice, that's just, you know, that's just in general, all of that stuff is helpful. After you're done gathering inspiration, what you want to do is you want to make a list of rooms that you want in your building. If you are doing a building for somebody else, which I have done before, I made a music hall, you want to be very thorough and ask a lot of questions. You want to be like, okay, well, what's some buildings that you like? You know, tell me what your kind of day-to-day would look like in this building. You know, what kind of things do you need? What kind of design would really help people to thrive? For example, there is a restaurant around where I live. It has a horrible, horrible kitchen design to it. And I mean, people who are making the food have to walk all the way across the kitchen in order to deliver the food. It is quite horrible. And that is not to the customers, by the way. They're not delivering it to the customers. Just to put it on a place where a waiter or waitress can grab it. It wastes so much time and so much energy for people who are making the food to walk like 15 feet in order to put the food down. No. It should be centralized in the middle of the entire facility, and it should literally be, you know, you're cooking, you turn around, you put your finished dish down on the trays that are ready to be taken out at any moment, and then you turn around right back around and keep fucking cooking. That's how it should be. I saw a video of a really, really, really nice kitchen that was laid out that way, and it was really satisfying to watch the person work, because they were, first off, very skilled, and also the architecture design was really, really, really intelligent. So if you're ever doing something for something else, like Bloxburg, making a house for somebody, always ask for lots of clarification. Again, that method that I used for this specific building that you're looking at right now on your screen, which of course is just, you know, a bunch of what they're called polylines, which means that it's basically just a bunch of lines that I just put down, and they work pretty well. It's a different kind of thing depending on what you do. So, big yawn. Once you decide how many rooms you have, you decide which ones are closest to each other and which ones are farthest from each other. For example, the laundry room is away from every single bedroom as much as possible, and you can see that on the screen right now. The laundry room is right by the garage, and it is literally in the place where it can be the furthest away from the bedrooms without being too far out of the way that it's an issue. As long as it's between the bedrooms, it works completely fine. Completely fine. Alright, chat. Alright. Once you figure out what rooms you want next to each other, then what you want to do is you want to, you know, you can also do this earlier, which is what we did, but decide on the sizes of your rooms. There are a bunch of guides online, for example, papers that even I've obtained from online, that kind of give the idea of what, you know, the minimum dimensions for a specific room should be, and it goes over all of them in extreme detail if you find the right stuff. I don't have a link or recommendation or anything like that, because I just kind of picked up on it. Let me think. After you're done figuring out how big your rooms are, just make a very interesting shape and place them in it, and then fill in the dead spots in the floor plan with interesting things, like for example the greenery room, the pool, similar things like that. Don't be afraid to not line up your walls, because it really doesn't matter unless you're on a tight budget or on general you're making this in real life, which if you are, thank you. I would feel very honored, but yeah, it's probably not happen. After you're done kind of laying out your stuff where you know you want it to be, you just label everything, and you just kind of go through it with a fresh pair of eyes every once in a while, and you'll start looking and seeing and finding things that were issues before, you know, that you didn't see beforehand until you actually looked, which is really funny, to be honest. You know, it's kind of funny to imagine all that. So I think what's probably going to happen is that the next time I stream might be more architecture stuff. I might be making this in a game of some kind just to show you guys a bit of why I do this, because it is a bit hard to, you know, look at something like this, you know, that's all laid out fancy, not on a, you know, Roblox or Minecraft server or something interesting, but stuff like that. Mainly though, I really thought this would take longer. I mean, it's only been like 2.5 hours, and a decent amount of this, you know, half hour was freaking talking about, you know, things that weren't really relating to what we were doing. So to be frank with you guys, I've freaking hit everything that I wanted to do this stream. This is why being, like, you know, architecture student's great. I mean, I'm able to just come up with this shit out of my ass, like, in 2 hours. Which is really fun, not gonna lie. Really fun. But, yeah. Nice. Nice, guys. I'm honestly really tired, too, so I think I'm going to end it early also because of that. I have, 5 shows over the next, 3 days. So, it would be nice to get some extra sleep tomorrow because I have 2 shows tomorrow, and then I have 2 shows on Saturday, and then I have 1 show on Sunday. So I will see you guys on Tuesday, which will be nice because I am going to be working like 30 something hours next week. So it'll be nice to have a good experience with working and doing this a bit more instead of this crazy camp that's taking up all my time. Bro, it's so weird to see me with fucking eyeliner on. This is so ugh. I don't like it. It just feels really uncanny. It doesn't look like my actual face. Alright. I shall see you guys later. And we're gonna do Hypixel Skyblock on Tuesday. Tuesday indeed. Bye, gang.